Hi everyone, welcome to my double game week 25 transfer plans. FPL has been hectic recently, so in this video, I'm going to try to keep it nice and simple. Players I want to bring into my team and why, and the players I want to get rid of and why. Now if this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Before we discuss transfers, there's 3 things you should know regarding this weekend's FA Cup results and how they impact FPL landscape and the remainder of the season. Number 1. Liverpool are very unlikely to double again this season. So apart from double game week 25, Liverpool very unlikely to double. Now, what does this mean for us in FPL? If you've got a triple captain, for example, and you want to use it on Mohamed Salah, the best FPL asset playing for the best team in the Premier League, this is your last chance. Yes, there are certain circumstances like bad weather or specific postponements that could mean Liverpool get a double game week, but as things stand right now, very unlikely. Number 2. Chelsea, Tottenham and Everton won't double in game week 33. Now this is very significant. We was looking at this being the biggest double game week of the season, and we can see these 3 teams won't double now, which might make things a little bit trickier if you're looking to bench boost and wanting to have 15 double game week players. And lastly, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham and Everton won't blank in game week 34. So this could make things a little bit easier for you if you've already used your free hit or you want to use your free hit in 29. You might be able to navigate 34 a little bit more easier. I'm going to say make a note of this, as when you're doing your chip strategy planning, make sure you know and remember these things here. Don't worry, I will be doing a chip strategy video which simplifies things, makes things very easy for you to digest. Definitely subscribe, put the notifications on so when that video drops, you get to see it. Right, let's get back to talking transfers. This is my current team and how it's set up for double game week 25 before any transfers are made. We must remember there is one more fixture still to be played for game week 24, and that's Liverpool versus Everton, which is going to be played in Wednesday nights. I've currently got 2 players yellow flagged, Trent, which is a problem, we'll talk about him in a bit more detail, and Gordon. The rest of the team looks in pretty good shape, and I currently have 2 free transfers and no money in the bank. Now let's have a look at how many double game week players I already have before any changes. I've got Trent and Salah, and I've also got Slot. So I don't have 3 Liverpool players, I've got 2 Liverpool players and Arnie Slot, which I activated the assistant manager chip in game week 24. Remember, it carries over 3 game weeks. I'm currently happy with this, but I do want to add one more doubler from Aston Villa. We'll talk about this in a bit more detail later. Now, before I make any transfers, the first thing I like to do, and you probably do this as well, is see my starting 11 before anything. I want to make sure, is it strong enough? Can I actually improve it? There has been an odd occasion where I bring a player in, and then I'm like, actually, they might not need to start. So it's almost a wasted transfer, because if you bring a player in, you don't want to bench them. No, they don't make no sense. So there is certain scenarios when that does happen. So for me, this would be my starting 11 for the upcoming game week. Sells in goal, Trent, Mikalenko and Gabriel, that's the back 3. A 5-man midfield, so Salah, Palmer, Kluivert and Bumo and Gordon. And 2 up front, Wissa and Isaac. The bench would currently be Hall, Greaves and Ndai, which is not too bad as 2 of those players should start. So after looking at my starting 11, I want to look at the fixtures to see if I can improve this team. Who can I bring in to improve that starting 11? The first thing I like to look at is the team with nice upcoming fixtures. So this fixture ticker is from double game week 25 until blank game week 29. It's a small period, but I like to do my planning in small chunks like that. As you can see on top of the ticker, we've got Bournemouth, Everton, Brentford, Man U, Fulham, Tottenham. Some nice teams there with excellent fixtures coming up. So if I'm bringing players in, yes, I want them to have lovely fixtures. But as you can see in 25, there's 2 teams doubling. Liverpool, they've got Wolves and Aston Villa. I'm already tripled up, so there's nothing there for me unless Trent is injured. Next is Aston Villa. They have Ipswich, which is a lovely fixture, and Liverpool, which is almost a bonus fixture. The only downfall of the Aston Villa players is, if you look at game week 21, they blank. So if I'm bringing them in, it could be a short-term move, as more than likely I'll need to transfer them out unless I use a free hit or I put them on my bench. So realistically, from my perspective, the teams I want to target are Bournemouth and Brentford, and also Liverpool and Villa. It's as simple as that. Liverpool, we've already discussed in my previous video, so I'm not going to go into detail here. And the majority of you, like me, is probably tripled up, whether it's 2 players and an assistant manager or 3 players. So I think you're pretty stacked up. The only significance realistically in this graphic here is Trent being yellow flagged. Now, he missed the semi-final Carabao Cup against Spurs, and he missed the FA Cup, wasn't even on the bench against Plymouth, which we expected that. It was a heavily rotated team. But it sounds like he's going to miss the Everton fixture, which is not that great. Then we have the dilemma. Do we get information before the double game week 25? Now, from my perspective, I think he's too expensive to just leave on the bench, and also a double game week We want players like him playing. Maybe I could move sideways to a Virgil van Dijk or a Konate. Definitely food for thought. I'm not going to make that move yet. It's something to wait and see what Slot says. I'm really hoping he will be fit for game week 25. Let's talk Aston Villa. We know they double on game week 25. First game is Ipswich, which is an excellent fixture, and the second game is Liverpool. I'm looking at that as a bonus fixture. Now, the two players who really caught my eye, Rodgers and Watkins. Now, let's start with Rodgers. He's having an incredible season, and at 5.6 million, one of the best cheap midfielders in the game. Now, this is not a shock to us. Most of us have owned him throughout the season so far. Yes, he goes through periods where he's not returning, but at that price, you're not going to get a player who returns every week. Now he has a double. I've got a conundrum of thinking about, do I bring him in? Now, I am considering him, and here's some of the reasons why I'm considering him. First and foremost, the minutes are outstanding. Whenever you bring in a player for a double game week, these double game weeks tend to be short turnaround times, so you can't have someone that's flaky and rested for the second game. Otherwise, there's no point. You're just getting a single game week player. Second reason, his form is outstanding. He's currently on 4 goals from the last 3 games. Now, there is a caveat there. None of those goals were in the Premier League. A hat-trick in the Champions League and 1 goal in the FA Cup. But still, he's in the goals. The confidence is up there. And lastly, his predicted points in this double fixture is near 8 points. You could argue if you've got a free transfer, it's a no-brainer. If you have to take a -4, I'm not sure, to be honest, as you're more than likely going to have to either bench him or sell him in game week 29 if you're not using the chip. So please bear that in mind when you're considering bringing him in. Next up is Ollie Watkins, a fan favourite within FPL. Last season he was outstanding, and this season he's been not too bad. He's been hindered by injuries, and his minutes have been not as good as previous seasons. Combination of injuries, and also Duran was taking some of his minutes. He's been sold now, so that issue's gone. So as long as he's fit, the minutes will increase and he should be starting the majority of the games. He's also the talisman of this team. Most of the attacks go through him, and as you can see, he already has 10 goals and 5 assists. It's not too bad when you look at his minutes. And lastly, the penalty taker. Huge tick. You know, as FPL managers, we love penalty takers. He's already scored 2 this season. He did miss 1 in the Champions League where he slipped. So these 2 are my favourite Aston Villa assets, and it depends on your team structure whether you can get to them. From my perspective, as you've seen, I've got Gordon yellow flagged and playing Man City. Maybe there's an easy route for me to get Morgan Rodgers. Watkins is a bit more trickier. I'd have to free up some money to maybe move Ndiaye or Wissa up to him, or I could go and move Isak, which I'm not keen on. Isak is playing on the next level, and the Manchester City fixture does not put me off one bit. Now, if you do like a punt, there are a couple of other players, a couple of dark horses emerging in this Aston Villa team. First one is Malan. He's currently been in the team, especially with Watkins out. His minutes look to be solid. And the second one is Marcus Rashford. Now, he's coming from Manchester United, which we all know he's had a very difficult time. It's like out in the public. He looks depressed and demoralised. He had a lovely little cameo against Spurs in the FA Cup. Coming on, he played with a smile on his face, some real attacking intent. Reminded me of the player we saw just 3 years ago at Manchester United, and where he was an outstanding FPL asset. And the last player is Asensio. Now, I remember him when he first broke through at Real Madrid. He had an incredible shot, scored some worldies that season. To be fair, he got injured. That impacted his career path at Real Madrid, had a move to PSG. He's not really hit it off that great, and now he's at Aston Villa. Very interesting asset. Again, had a lovely little cameo versus Spurs. It'd be intrigued to see how many minutes he gets in the upcoming games. Now, those moves there, only if you want to take a huge punt. The reality is, in a double game week, you're making an effort of using a transfer, which is so precious. You want to bring in someone who's a certainty. And for me, that's someone like Rodgers. Yes, it's boring. Or Watkins, as long as we got the thumbs up regarding his injury. The next team I want to talk about is Bournemouth. This is a club I want to do my shopping. I'm currently looking at multiple players from Bournemouth. That's something I never thought I'd say at the start of the season. They've been super impressive, and when you look at them as a team, on the eye, they've been incredible, and statistically, they're topping the majority of the stats in the Premier League. So they're there on merit. Now, when we're talking FPL assets, for me personally, Kluivert is the best from Bournemouth. Currently 5.9 million. I think he's a steal. Yes, I know he's gone up quite a lot recently as everyone jumps in on him, but I still think he's well worth it. Now, the reasons for that is penalty taker. First tick I want to talk about is penalties, and with him it's actually quite significant. I think he's getting quite a lot of penalties like Palmer did last season. He's already scored 6 in the Prem. Unreal. Second thing I want to talk about is his good form. When you look at it, he's got 45 points from the last 4 games. Now, I know that's overperformance. We're not going to match that, but even if he drops that by 50%, he's still a ridiculous asset. You must remember, he's a £6 million player. And lastly, I'm going to look at his predicted points, which is just around 5 points. I think he supersedes that when you consider the fixture he's got coming up next. The next Bournemouth player I want to talk about is Dango. He's only 5.1 million, super cheap, currently playing in this attacking Bournemouth team. And more importantly, he's playing up front, an out of position attacker. We love that in FPL. So basically he's playing up front, which increases his probability of getting attacking returns, but yet he's getting scored like a midfielder in FPL, and he also gets the clean sheet. So it's a double bonus for us. Minutes, just like Kluivert, are excellent. Dango's played 90 minutes in the last 4 game weeks. He's been vital for this Bournemouth team, leading the line, causing havoc for the opponents. And the fixtures. Southampton and Wolves up next. You're going to want a striker playing against those defenses. Now, if that's not enough for you to entice you to buy one of these incredible players, have a look at these shots taken graphic. Now, bear in mind, this is taken from the Liverpool and Nottingham Forest games, 2 of the most difficult defenses to play against. Look at Kluivert, 3 shots in both games. That's a really good ratio, and not just any shots. Look at the quality of the shots, the majority of them in the box or near the edge of the box. So it's good quality chances. Now look at Dango. Again, all of these shots are in the box. So the point I'm getting at here is the shot volume from these midfielders and attackers from Bournemouth is incredible. The reason for that is they press so aggressively. When they do win the ball back, the majority of their players are already in dangerous zones. With 1 or 2 passes, they're in your box. So when you see this shot volume against Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, you start to imagine what they could produce versus Southampton and Wolves. Now, we know football doesn't always work like that, but I still want to own a couple of these attackers in those fixtures. We're not done with Bournemouth yet. I've got 2 more players. Semenyo, a player most of us have owned somewhere along the line this season. Me personally, he's been super frustrating. I played him, he blanks. When I sub him, he scores. But that should not impact you when you're looking at Semenyo from now to the remainder of the season. 5.6 million, and again, ticks a lot of boxes. His shot volume is ridiculous. 13 shots in the last 4 game weeks, and as I said earlier, bear in mind, some of those fixtures are very, very tricky. Now, his form is outstanding. 28 points in the last 4 game weeks. Super consistent output. And his minutes, like the other players I've shown you, over 2,000 minutes, tells me he's one of the most important players in this Bournemouth attack. A player I really, really like, but for me personally, I have him 3rd favourite after Kluivert and Dango. But get in the comments and let me know what you think. And the last player from Bournemouth is Kirkes, a defensive asset for you. Coming in at 4.9 million, he's been outstanding this season, to the level where a lot of the top teams in European football are looking at him. Minutes, like Semenyo and some of the others, outstanding. Over 2,000 minutes tells you he's locked. His attacking output is very, very good as well. 5 returns so far this season. And the other stat, which stands for all of the Bournemouth assets, he doesn't blank in 29. Do you know how important this is? As I said, excellent fixtures from now until 29. But then he also gives you the option, if you don't want to use your chips in 29, these players play. So it's a big, big win, ticks a lot of the boxes. So this is where I'm at with my current transfer thinking. Gordon being yellow flagged, playing Man City, and then even after Man City, the fixtures are still tricky. I'm thinking I can get rid of him and free up a space in my midfield for one of these 2 gems. Rodgers, I've already spoken about him in detail. I love the double game week. I rate him as a player and cheap as well, so I could bench him after this double game week. Or Dango, who's playing out of position, playing up front in this incredible Bournemouth team who are flying and producing excellent attacking statistics. Now, Dango gives me the plus of not blanking in 29 and has excellent fixtures. Rodgers gives me the plus of the double game week 25, so it's a short-term gain. I really prefer Dango. So my thinking is, do I use up a transfer and get Rodgers and punt on the double game week? And then, to be honest, I'll look to sell him for Dango anyway the week after. So this is where I'm currently at with my thinking. I'm still not locked in yet, but it's pretty close to being one of these 2 here. I already got Kluivert, but I've got no issues with doubling up on this Bournemouth attack, especially with those fixtures. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Get in the comments and let me know how many double game week players you're going to have for 25. And also, what Bournemouth and Brentford players are you bringing in? Now, before you jump off to the next video, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Watch this video on the screen right now. It's got tips for you which will help you for the double game week 25.